Have you ever looked into the eyes of a creature from another universe? Everything that inhabits our planet in the depths of its oceans also feels at home here. Over this hour, you will encounter both unusual animals and real mutants, whose existence is hard to believe. Enjoy watching. Let's look at creatures that defy identification, a surprise from the depths of the ocean. When you aim to catch a big fish, fate sends you something even bigger. Local fishermen cast their nets into the water hoping for a great catch, but they caught an incredible creature with webbed hands. Naturally, it tried to break free, but it was not a fish. It resembled a mermaid. Shocked, the fishermen could hardly believe their eyes. In fear and confusion, they quickly threw the net back into the water. The mermaid escaped, remaining alive and causing no harm to anyone. In the year 2023, off the coast of Thailand, an unusual figure was spotted swimming in the water that did not resemble any known marine animal. At first, locals mistook it for a floating log, but upon closer inspection, they realized it was a strange creature. Its enormous head seemed disproportionately large for its body, and two bulging eyes gave it an alien appearance. The most astonishing feature was its mouth, filled with rows of sharp teeth, a strange combination of cartoon and horror that baffled witnesses. It seems we might find an answer to the previous mystery in this segment. On the 6th of March in the year 2013, a group of scientists was exploring the waters off the coast of Greenland. The crew of the underwater expedition encountered the inexplicable. At great depths, a webbed hand touched the window of their state-of-the-art submarine. Then, in the dim light, a face with enormous dark eyes appeared. The creature resembled either a mermaid or a humanoid amphibian. But one thing was certain: the researchers were staring into the eyes of an intelligent being from another realm. Kiama, a suburb south of Sydney in New South Wales, is where an experienced fisherman with 30 years of practice made a groundbreaking discovery. He had never seen anything like it in his entire life or fishing career. When he pulled his line, his eyes widened like coins. The fisherman stared at the strange creature on his hook. It resembled a bug from space. Its segmented body, covered in a large shell with numerous legs, looked like a giant isopod. Could this creature be a distant relative of crabs and shrimp? Typically, such bizarre armored creatures inhabit ocean depths. Their sturdy exoskeletons allow them to survive while successfully evading fishermen and predators. What do you think? Is it edible? Perhaps it is an unmatched marine delicacy? While rowing a boat, a tourist had a strange encounter. His paddle touched something large and slippery in the water. Upon closer inspection, he saw a long, snake-like creature with a translucent body. Initially thinking it might be a water snake, he carefully lifted it out of the water with his paddle. But the creature resembled a jellyfish more than a fish. Its fragile, transparent body with tiny structures along its sides, resembling seeds, streamed in the water like a ribbon. The boater filmed the peculiar creature and shared the video online, hoping to find answers in the comments. The mysterious creature was likely a tubular marine animal that pumps water through its gelatinous body to move and feed on tiny plants in the water. After a successful day at sea, a family of fishermen was pleased with their catch. However, as they unloaded it, they noticed an unfamiliar creature among the fish. It was slippery and resembled an enormous leech, eel, or even an alien. The fishermen realized they had caught a hagfish, a primitive jawless vertebrate measuring 70 centimeters in length. Faceless and finless, it nonetheless tried to escape. Surprised by the extraordinary sight, they decided to release the hagfish back into the ocean. I think that was the most logical decision. What else could they do with it? Even fishermen face challenges in the water that can spoil the joy of fishing. In the Canadian town of Enderby, a fishing enthusiast encountered a strange bug that landed on his boat. It was no ordinary water bug. It was a giant water bug. Also known as balastomatid or toe biter, these large insects grow up to 10 centimeters in length and have a bad reputation for their painful bites. They can swim, jump, and fly, making encounters with them unpleasant. It's amazing that this creature caught the attention of witnesses in a river. At first, it resembled a long, dark fish, but as it got closer, it became clear. Something was off. Its fins and tail resembled those of other fish, but its head looked like an inverted skull, reminiscent of a squid or octopus. No one could identify this river creature. Who knows? Was it a new species of fish or a rare kind of octopus? Yet another mystery that cannot be unraveled every day. Now, let us marvel at how enormous marine creatures can be. On the coast of Ireland, for the second time in 2 months, fishermen pulled a giant squid out of the water. Imagine such a catch. Suddenly, you haul in something straight out of a sea monster legend. What appears to be an exhibit of fish guts from an encyclopedia is actually a giant cuttlefish. A family of seasoned fishermen caught an enormous 6-meter-long squid. This was not just a big catch, but a true shock. In 350 years of record-keeping in Ireland, this was only the 7th giant squid ever documented. An encounter with an octopus became a shocking experience for a group of amateur fishermen in British Columbia. They had cast a shrimp trap into the water, but what they pulled up was entirely unexpected. When they began to haul in the net, it felt extraordinarily heavy. No wonder, as it was firmly gripped by a giant Pacific octopus. Its long red tentacles were tightly wrapped around the trap. It must have found something enticing inside, or perhaps the octopus itself was the spectacle. At first, the friends began filming the octopus. It turned out to be one of the largest ever brought to the surface. It is easy to understand why pulling up the net was so difficult, but now the question remained: how to detach the clingy octopus from the trap? While fishing in the Fraser River, a man had an unforgettable experience. He felt a powerful tug on his rod, but did not yet realize he had hooked a monstrous sturgeon. The fish was so enormous that it seemed capable of swallowing a human. The fisherman struggled with all his might, but the sturgeon proved too strong. It broke free from the tackle and disappeared into the depths. The Fraser River is known for its large sturgeons, but such catches are exceedingly rare. Sometimes children get so caught up in the excitement of fishing that they rival adult professionals. They say beginners are lucky. Look at what a 9-year-old boy from New Jersey caught while fishing in British Columbia. In the same Fraser River, he hooked a sturgeon weighing approximately 270 kilograms. The boy fought the fish for nearly 2 hours, which was far larger than himself. Finally, with the help of his father and a fishing guide, he managed to bring the giant fish close to the shore. It was an incredible 3-meter-long sturgeon, the kind that even professionals rarely catch. Friends set out for a fishing trip in Norway. They were excited at the prospect of catching a big fish, but they had no idea how thrilling their catch would be. Look at this enormous triangular fish. When the leader felt a strong pull on the line, he began cautiously reeling it in. The group could not contain their astonished cries as the fish neared the boat. They could not believe their eyes. It was a giant halibut over 2 meters long. Once they hauled the catch aboard, they immediately measured it. Its length was 2 meters and 30 centimeters, and it weighed 160 kilograms. That's the size of 2 fully grown adults. A fishing enthusiast experienced the greatest shock of his life when he held a catfish that resembled a monster from legends. This fish looked as if it could swallow a human whole. The giant catfish was truly a monstrous catch, and likely a very old resident of the riverbed. Its long whiskers and a mouth large enough to fit a basketball spoke of decades of growth in the murky depths. However, it was lucky. It will continue its long life in its natural habitat, because the fisherman safely released his incredible catch back into the water. A few miles off the coast, a group of fishermen using an electric reel cast their line at a depth of over 300 meters. To their amazement, they pulled a giant grouper from the waves, a true grown-up Mr. Grouper. The deep-sea giant was a stunning sight with its massive mouth and shimmering scales. The fishermen could not believe their luck and quickly placed the catch on ice to preserve its freshness for the long journey back to shore. On the 15th of July, in the year 2022, a group of fishermen set out to sea on their boat. As they began casting their rods, they suddenly felt a powerful pull on the line. The fish that emerged from the water was so long that it would have to be coiled to fit aboard. 16 feet. That's almost 5 meters. But the surprise was not just in the size. It turned out to be a very rare oarfish. These creatures look like giant ribbons, and few people have ever seen them. In the murky waters of the Mekong River in Cambodia, fishermen discovered an incredible creature, the largest freshwater fish ever recorded. And it was not just a fish, it was a giant freshwater stingray weighing 300 kilograms and measuring 4 meters long. It broke all world records. Amazingly, before this, we had not heard of stingrays living in rivers. After the giant was tagged and measured, it was released back into the river to be tracked for a year in hopes of learning more about its secretive life. Marine biologists did not expect an ordinary workday to bring such a surprise. They received an unusual call from a nearby tuna fishing vessel. The crew had caught a large creature in their nets and needed expert help. When the biologists arrived to inspect the find, they could not believe their eyes. A huge sunfish, also called an ocean sunfish or mola mola, had become entangled in the nets. These are known to be the heaviest of all bony fish, but this dark giant nearly broke the 1,000-kilogram scale. Imagine catching such a big fish that you could earn millions of dollars by selling it at auction. During a big blue marlin fishing tournament in North Carolina, the crew of a lucky fishing vessel thought they had hit the jackpot. When they pulled up a massive marlin weighing 280 kilograms, they imagined earning a fortune. However, their high hopes were crushed when the judges found bite marks from other predators on the fish's body. According to tournament rules, fish damaged by other animals are disqualified. Imagine celebrating your 200th birthday. In the ocean, there are creatures for whom this is not fantasy, but reality. Such an encounter happened in Arctic waters. A very rare Greenland shark was accidentally caught in a net. This extraordinary shark can live for hundreds of years, swimming very slowly, at a speed of just 1.6 to 2.7 kilometers per hour. That is 3 to 4 times slower than a human walking pace. It might have been swimming in those waters when our great-great-great-grandparents were children. The team carefully released the ancient giant back into the water. They realized they were looking at not just a shark, but a rarity among marine inhabitants. Next up, exotic fish await us. Nature never ceases to amaze with its bizarre creatures. Let's take a look at some of the most unusual fish. Surprise is the main factor in fishing. A local resident had an incredible stroke of luck. In his net, he discovered a fish he had never seen before. It didn't seem edible, and on the contrary, it looked dangerous. So the fisherman recorded a video of it and threw it back into the pond. Later, when he shared the video and photos online, he was surprised to learn that he had encountered a rare janitor fish, or pterocotum. This is the same speckled catfish whose miniature version can often be seen in home aquariums. It's also called a golden catfish, a bottom-dwelling fish from the armored catfish family. Fish for dinner is not a bad idea, but it's better to catch a fresh one yourself. A group of fishermen pulled an incredible fish from the ocean. Just look at its eyes, bulging out of its head. They had never seen such a peculiar fish before. As it turned out, they were incredibly lucky. This fish, called a pomfret, is similar in taste to flounder and is considered one of the most expensive and delicious. Once, a fisherman received an extraordinary gift from the sea. Among his bountiful catch was a large white halibut, but it didn't look like the ones he had seen before. Upon closer inspection, he noticed that the halibut's skin was partially brown, and its eyes were enormous and bulging. This specimen was definitely not typical of its kind. You never know what surprises the ocean might bring, so before going fishing, it's worth flipping through an encyclopedia to ensure you know your fish. What looks like a spiky ball is none other than the famous pufferfish, also known as the blowfish or fugu, one of the most renowned, expensive, and deadly delicacies in Japanese cuisine. One day, such a spiky ball was found washed up on a beach, and its enormous size impressed witnesses. The spiny marine creature, which somehow made its way out of the ocean, was uncommonly large. Its big eyes seemed to gaze in confusion as one of the men picked it up and filmed a video. Just look at the incredible size of this pufferfish. A family set out on their boat in the ocean, hoping to catch tuna for dinner. They had no idea they would find something entirely unexpected. When they pulled up their lines, their catch shocked them. A terrifying fish with an enormous mouth had taken the bait. It was an anglerfish weighing over 6 kilograms. It's surprising that they managed to catch it so easily. These fish usually live at great depths. Another anglerfish, or monkfish, caught the attention of a resident of a fishing village. He was stunned by the fish's enormous, terrifying mouth. It looked like a mega piranha. Although the predator was no longer alive when the fisherman found it, its intimidating appearance still captured the imagination. Have you ever seen a fish with a human face? Get ready to see it. This brown creature was found near a dock. It was initially mistaken for a mermaid, but it was definitely a fish, albeit an absolutely incredible one. Its face almost looked human. Large eyes, a bump resembling a nose, and lips that seemed to form a creepy smile. It reminded people of the blobfish, another marine creature known for its amusingly droopy face. But this find left everyone both amazed and a little scared. Have you ever seen a one-eyed fish? If not, let me show you a video uploaded by scientists from a laboratory. They, of course, made plenty of jokes about it, but since the single eye was located right in the middle of its head, it's clear that the fish didn't lose a second eye due to an injury. Apparently, it was designed this way from the start. If you can at least distinguish some features on a one-eyed fish, let me show you a creature with no face at all. In 2017, this being was discovered in the ocean by Australian scientists. It was like encountering a creature from another planet. The researchers dived into the Pacific Ocean to a depth of around 4 kilometers and came across an amusing faceless fish. It had no eyes or nose, as if they had been erased. Scientists could hardly believe their eyes. And although the fish didn't have any, it somehow managed to survive at such depths. Fishing is both a sport, a hobby, and a passion, but sometimes also a dangerous adventure. You never know who might surface from the waves. A big catch doesn't always look like food. It can sometimes be a real monster. That's exactly what happened here. Off the coast of Java, an experienced fisherman and his sons cast their lines 150 meters deep into the ocean. They knew they were hunting for a big fish, but didn't expect to strike it this big. Pulling the lines with their bare hands, they felt a powerful tug, and soon a monster emerged from the water. They caught a tiger shark over 5 meters long. The struggle lasted for hours, with waves threatening to capsize their frail boat. But the fishermen held on tightly, unwilling to lose this incredible catch. Finally, they secured their prize. Although the giant shark was worth only $30, its meat could feed the fisherman's family for an entire month. A group of wildlife rescue enthusiasts set out to a river with a mission: to catch alligator gars to provide them a safe place to raise their offspring. During their search, they made an extraordinary catch. They found a massive alligator gar. This large fish looks as if it hasn't changed since the time of dinosaurs. It has the head of an alligator, armor-like scales, and 2 rows of sharp teeth. Simply put, It's a hybrid of an alligator and a dinosaur. Can you believe creatures like this are still swimming in rivers today? Now it's time to both smile and ponder. Has artificial intelligence gone too far? Some videos leave us scratching our heads, wondering whether to believe them or not. Get ready to see something truly unimaginable and decide for yourself whether it's a prank or reality. A local resident made a startling discovery in a river. He found a fish that looked like a cartoon character. Who knows? Maybe it's a completely new species waiting to be named. Or just a peculiar mutant. But the fish astonishingly resembled an actual elephant. It had a nose like a trunk and large round eyes, making it look rather comical. I don't think I'm such a fool as to believe in the existence of such a specimen. Nevertheless, the video is now on your screen, and it shows a fish that might make you laugh out loud. Allegedly, locals caught an otherworldly inhabitant in a pond. A fish with the face of a donkey. How, I ask you, could such a hybrid live in water? It had the body of an ordinary fish, complete with fins and gills, but the head was entirely donkey-like, even munching with its lips as stubbornly as an equine would. The video exploded on the internet, with many speculating about what this new species or mutation might be. Personally, I have one question. Do you think this donkey-faced fish was the result of neural network meddling? Let us know in the comments.
A strong pull on the fishing line signals an upcoming battle with a heavy giant. This time, the other end revealed an unusual catfish. It was very large, but its paleness indicated it was an albino, making it more visible in the water and vulnerable to predators. However, its size was also quite impressive, a full 2.4 meters in length. It's unlikely anyone would dare to attack such a massive creature. Of course, it was a shame to leave such a remarkable fish, but the person decided that video evidence was enough and released the catfish back into the water. A fishing expedition in Mexico turned into an astonishing discovery, one to remember for a lifetime. The fishermen noticed a massive body in the water, resembling a large marine animal, but they were simply stunned to discover that it was the carcass of a whale with 2 heads. Experts were called in to investigate, and they were equally baffled. According to marine biologists, this never-before-seen creature could have been the victim of a developmental pathology. In humans, such cases are known as conjoined twins. And another strange thing, this species of whale had never been seen in Mexico before. The bodies of the whale twins were joined in the middle. They had 2 pectoral fins each and 2 separate tails. This means they didn't fully separate during the embryonic development stage. Specialists decided to bury the body and wait until the skeleton could be used for further research. Fishing has never been a harmless sport, and some fish, even deprived of water, do not lose their dangerous skills. So first, you need to carefully check what kind of catch has taken your bait and whether the story might flip on you. Let's start with cases where the fish practically come to the angler's hands themselves. Sometimes, an angler doesn't need gear, just agility. This guy became a star of his documentary show. He emerged with a large, tasty fish that he caught with his bare hands. The sucker catfish, which lives at the bottom and is rather slow, was pulled out of the water, but it did not want to give up. And when a spiky large fish wriggles in your hands, you can injure your hands on its sharp fins. If you've ever held a raw fish in your hands, you'll understand what I mean. This diver also easily found his catch. Here, the main pride is being able to hold on to the catch in your hands. Fishing sometimes turns into a tug-of-war with a pesky creature 10 times smaller than you, but 100 times more persistent. A fisherman was pulling in a decent catch when he suddenly noticed it wasn't coming out alone, but with a hitchhiker, a small, black, wriggling animal. It was a river otter clinging to the fish, evidently considering the catch its own. How amusing that it could have eaten a fish its own size. And what's most surprising is that the otter refused to let go of its prize until the very last moment. Anything can get caught in a fishing net, not always as ordered, and the bigger the catch, the harder it is to pull it on board. This time the catch was a giant that no one recognized. A creature with white and yellow patterns on thick skin, moving too slowly to be a fish. It was clearly some sort of aquatic giant, but the question was, what kind? If you know the answer, please write to us in the comments. Don't be shy. A group of fishermen on Bimini Island, Bahamas, got an unpleasant surprise. They caught a large red snapper, but something wasn't right. The fish, once out of the water, seemed to be vomiting. Some sort of bubble was sticking out of its mouth. Not a very pleasant sight, is it? Especially if you don't understand what it is. So experts clarified, the snapper was suffering from a swim bladder disorder. When gas doesn't escape quickly enough, it starts to push other organs outward, so that bubble is the fish's stomach turned inside out. But otherwise, dear viewers, all is well and the fish is edible. While fishing off the coast of Louisiana, a boat was attacked by a large white shark. It decided to rob the fishermen while they were lifting their lucky catch out of the water. In a flash, half of the fish was gone to the shark. But the shocked fishermen were even more surprised when they lifted the fish, or rather half of it, onto the boat. It was still alive, with the bait still stuck in it. Now it had become bait itself. The torn-up carcass was set aside for the next round. This is not the only time sharks have pirated someone else's catch. Here's another group of fishermen who caught something phenomenal. Before they pulled their trophy out of the water, they had a long struggle from the moment the line first tugged. The fish turned out to be astonishingly resilient, but when they finally hauled the catch onto the boat, they couldn't believe their eyes. Dangling from the hook was a hammerhead shark, almost entirely eaten by another predator. Sharks are incredibly smart and understand that prey already on the hook is the easiest to grab, so without effort and competition, you won't catch a fish even from a pond, let alone the ocean. Here's another case of robbery on a fishing trip. Although I think some enthusiasts go to the ocean not for the fish, but for the spectacle. A man cast his line into the water, and when he felt a strong pull, he realized that there was some serious resistance on the other end. And just when the fisherman thought he had won, a bold shark stole their catch right off the line. For the shark, biting through fishing gear is a piece of cake. So the pair decided to end their fishing trip for the day. The shark seemed to have let them know it was time to call it a day. Sometimes, on a fishing trip, you have to compete not only with sharks, but also with crocodiles. This adventurous outing on a small boat took a terrifying turn when a hungry crocodile suddenly appeared among the calm river waves. The men noticed the movement in the water, heading straight for them before they even had time to reel in their first catch. And within seconds, the dangerous jaws snapped very close. Although the guy successfully pulled in the fish, the close call surely sent shivers down his spine. The crocodile circled around them, waiting for another chance, but soon left the fishermen. I think it gave them quite a scare that day. From a distance, it might look like the boat is surrounded by a swarm of moths, but in fact, these are thousands of tiny fish. Chinese fishermen hit the jackpot. They didn't just find the perfect moment, but they made the schools of fish literally jump into their nets. Special techniques make the fishing process easier, because the key to any endeavor is efficiency. The Chinese have surely cracked nature's code, allowing them to catch all the fish at once. Now we will marvel at the diversity of nature. Some fish are blessed with beauty, while others are the opposite. It's unknown who has an easier life. The reflective coloration of these fish helps them blend with the shimmering ocean waters. It's a clever form of natural camouflage. These extraordinary fluorescent fish live in the shallow waters of the Atlantic. Ever wonder how they glow like that? The answer is that their skin contains crystals that act as camouflage when they need to become a shadow. But in the light, they shine brightly, just like the ripples of sunlight. In Australian waters, there are plenty of large fish, and in one session, these guys caught two amazing giants. The first was a blue-eyed trevally caught at a depth of half a kilometer. Its huge, bulging eyes were surprising. They looked like doll eyes, rotating like they were on hinges. And on the second try, they caught a giant pink shovel-nose fish. This fish has developed remarkable features that help it thrive in South America. The pacu fish lives in the Amazon basin, and with its toothy grin, it can be compared to the nutcracker from fairy tales. They are often mistaken for piranhas, but these fish are known for their distinctive teeth. Take a look at how similar they are to human teeth. They even have a sharp edge like a built-in razor. If you ask why they have such dangerous teeth, I would say they really do crack nuts. Yes, these fish primarily eat nuts and fruits. A strange diet for such a fierce appearance, right? These fish can grow up to 1 meter, but they are more herbivorous than predatory. There's a spicy detail. Pacu fish have shown an interest in a certain part of the male anatomy. Yes, they are nicknamed nutcrackers for a reason, so if you ever decide to swim in the waters of the Amazon, protect your family jewels. Scientists explored the deep zones of the ocean off the eastern coast of Australia and made some amazing discoveries. Among them was an unusual faceless fish. It's funny. We usually rely on faces for identification, but with this creature, there's literally nothing to grab onto. No eyes, no mouth. These eels grow up to 46 centimeters long and live at depths of 3,000 to 5,000 meters. In fact, they do have tiny eyes and a barely discernible mouth. It's not an anomaly, but overall they resemble otherworldly creatures. Here's a fish with a face, but you'll say, better without one than with this. Russian fisherman Roman Petrov loves to collect all sorts of oddities from different seas. Here, for example, is his find during a fishing trip in the Norwegian Sea. An unknown fish with bulging eyes looks like an alien from hell or the victim of a botched plastic surgery. Roman has gathered a large collection of remarkable sea creatures, but this specimen caused a real stir on the internet. Unfortunately, it remains unnamed, but perhaps you know this species or have caught something similar. Please write to us in the comments. Let's move on. This is amusing. A strange resident was discovered in a pond with carp, easily distinguishable among the other fish. Have you ever seen a fish with a cat's face? It seems cute and funny, but if you look closely, the resemblance is an illusion, a trick of visual perception. It's just a psychological phenomenon that makes people see familiar patterns in random objects. The cat face effect is produced by the fish's nostrils. This clip, posted in 2016, caught people's attention online. A group of friends was fishing in a canal in Brooklyn, a suburb of New York. Not the most eco-friendly place for fishing, and they ended up catching a mutant fish. Another three-eyed fish was caught in 2011 in Argentina near a nuclear power plant. If you're paying close attention, you know what I'm talking about. When animals turn into freaks, it's likely that the water in which they grew up was polluted with nuclear waste or some other nastiness. What you see in this guy's hands is not a stick and not a flute, though it's also called a cornet fish. This amazing creature, a very thin fish with a long snout and red spots on its body, really does resemble a wind instrument. Perhaps when it swims, it looks more intimidating. It could be mistaken for a sea snake. In December 2020, a fisherman on Krabi Island in Thailand was shocked by a strange fish. In all his experience, he had never encountered such a scarecrow. The fish, looking like a rock or leaves, was swimming in the murky water near the shore. Look at this. It has a face that resembles an angry old man or, well, a horror movie character. Exactly, I figured out who it resembles. Freddy Krueger. The man took his find home to show off, but the villagers were horrified. A good job for scaring kids. By the way, if you know what this character is called, please write the name of the fish in the comments. Some deep-sea fish seem to have adopted human traits. They have noses, lips, and even legs. Fishermen on a Paradise Caribbean island pulled out an extremely peculiar creature from the water. They didn't know what they were looking at because it was hard to call it a fish. The superstitious locals even started linking the creature to aliens, but let's ask the experts first. As soon as the video hit the internet, users quickly identified the creature. It's a red-lipped batfish, a very unusual creature that can only be found in the waters around the Galapagos Islands. So for most people on Earth, it's a rare curiosity. A small yet very bright orange parrotfish became the catch of a group of fishermen. It seems they casually caught two specimens right from the river. Don't be alarmed by the huge bump on its head. It's intentional. It's one of the differences between males and females. The guys were thrilled with the unusual catch and decided to take the fish with them. But something bad happened to one of the fish while it was waiting with the others. It seems it was attacked by a red-tailed catfish. So, the parrotfish are unlikely to swim peacefully together in a pool. You've probably heard of the bluebird of happiness, but what would you say if you came across a completely blue fish? A group of fishermen was floating down the river in Gaston County, North Carolina, when a bright spot caught their attention. Lying on the water was a fluorescent blue fish. The color was so unusual that there wasn't even a guess as to what it was. Was it a mutation or a new species? Unknown, the fish was quite large, measuring about 120 centimeters in length and weighing in at 13 kilograms. However, there are no blue carp, and even rainbow trout doesn't fit. There aren't many fish with unusual genetics in these rivers. Could it have been a mystical phenomenon, or a regrettable chemical incident? A group of fishermen set out into the waters of Madagascar in search of something impressive, and the ocean did not disappoint. They managed to catch a true emperor, the deep-sea Napoleon fish, actually a type of oceanic grouper, but this specimen is simply magnificent. Look at the size. A stunningly shining body, a blue protruding mouth, a real work of art. So, the masterpiece of nature was decided to be released back home, and the freed king of the seas splashed back into the blue waves. A gesture worthy of the aristocrats of fishing, don't you think? These guys got into a slippery situation off the coast of Japan. They were holding a creature covered in abundant slime, something that looked like it came out of a horror movie. In fact, it's still the same Napoleon fish, and for it, the slime is crucial for survival. It helps it glide smoothly through the water, protects it from parasites and diseases, and heals wounds. So if you're squeamish by nature, better not fish in the ocean. Look at this fish's face. No, I didn't misspeak. The grimace on its snout really does resemble an ancient Greek theatrical mask. The eyes and mouth seem frozen in a look of horror. Such specimens are found in Thailand, and they're called stargazer fish because they also have star-shaped white spots on their backs. Absolutely amazing creatures that don't often get caught on a hook. A fish was caught in China that looked more like a bird. Its body was typically fish-like, but the head resembled that of a pigeon. While people speculated on what new species this was, puzzled experts determined that it was most likely a mutation of carp due to poor environmental conditions. It's not often you're lucky enough to catch just a big fish, but here's another beauty, a huge body with black and white patterns and many fins. It seems this guy got the most remarkable catch of his life. Later, he found out that he caught a snakehead fish. By the way, it's quite a rare stroke of luck to encounter this species in freshwater areas of Africa and Asia, so remember this story. The forms of marine life never cease to amaze us. Underwater, there are creatures that can strike fear even in experts. And here's just such a case. Every time you cast your net, a fisherman takes part in a lottery. This guy caught a pale creature, a mix of snake and fish. Many viewers of this video suggested that the net had caught an unfortunate hybrid. But perhaps among you, there are erudite people who can name this fish species. I'm personally betting on a pale predatory eel. And you? Sometimes a strange catch makes everyone scratch their heads, and it's important to determine whether the catch is edible or dangerous. In central Russia, a simple worm caught a completely abnormal fish. Even at first glance, it was clear that this was an anomaly. Experts examined the fish and suggested that it could be a mutant eel or a species of piranha. We nodded and agreed. Well, yes, in central Russia. In any case, I wouldn't recommend making soup out of such a monster. On the 21st of February, 2021, fishermen found a strange baby near the coast of Indonesia. They were aiming for sharks, and when they pulled in the net, they found a weird baby among the usual catch. It had almost human-like big eyes, only positioned a bit lower on the face, as if someone had drawn them by hand. It looks like the famous cartoon character Baby Shark has come to life, but in reality, it's not so fun. It's likely we're dealing with another genetic mutation. This saber-toothed fish looks like a living nightmare. One glance is enough to make you exclaim, "Oh hell!" and you wouldn't be wrong. This is indeed an anglerfish, and its large head with fangs and demonic eyes frightens everyone around. An enthusiast from Russia filmed it during a deep-sea journey. Such devils live from 200 to 3,000 meters below the surface in the waters of the North and South Atlantic. It's just the underworld of the ocean if such creatures feel at home there. Residents of Tomsk, Russia encountered a water monster known as the wolffish. Even taken out of its natural habitat, this fish remained incredibly ferocious and aggressive. Using its terrifying teeth, it attacked anyone who approached it, and its frightening appearance didn't help the brave guys trying to calm the monster. You wouldn't want to put your hand in its mouth. It could bite it off up to the elbow. If you're heading out on a deep-sea fishing trip, you need to quickly identify what you've caught when the catch comes to you on the line. Sometimes the attraction is risky. At least, you should study the poisonous species found in the area. These guys were doing fine until they caught an interesting fish. What do we have here with a yellowtail? Maybe an eel or a sea bass? Everyone tried to guess until they turned to Google. It turned out that they had one of the most poisonous marine creatures in their hands. A scorpion fish, and a sting from its spines is enough to paralyze a person with just a touch. The spines on its back are full of venom, so it's unclear who caught whom, so don't relax. And remember, even a small poisonous fish should not be handled with bare hands. In popular language, when mentioning someone's greed, people say eats with two mouths. Sometimes nature literally embodies such wonders. Has anyone here ever caught a fish with two mouths? We have two cases. A first monster with an ordinary mouth also had a bottom sucker, and the second version is simply a fish with two mouths. Moreover, the upper mouth seemed normal, able to open and close, but the lower one was constantly open. Clearly something is wrong here, and most likely, the cause of these anomalies could be polluted waters in our rivers. Not only fish can look unusual, the water is full of things you couldn't imagine on purpose. Now we have a set of frog triplets, another unique mutation where conjoined twins became triplets. They have 3 heads and 6 legs on one body, and such a mutation is, of course, extremely rare. But it looks creepy when you realize that the cause of the developmental pathology is most likely human activity in the environment. They were found by experts in 2004 and noted that a mutation with an odd number of heads is much rarer. Since they were born connected in one body, it's now hard for them to decide which direction to move in. Imagine, it's like having 3 cooks in one kitchen. Without any irony, I genuinely feel sorry for the frogs, although perhaps they are happy together. People usually fish fearlessly near Coney Island, but when they caught such a marine creature, many began to wonder, are these waters safe? To get answers about what creature got hooked, they shared the video on TikTok. So what do we have? A strange fish with scales and a body with 3 legs or tentacles like an octopus. Another surprise, the creature turned out to be quite capable of functioning on land. Then is it not quite a fish? We have 2 options again, a terrifying mutant or an entirely unknown hybrid species to science. It's time for open discussion. This photo went viral on the internet. Let's try to figure out what's in it. It seems to be a seal that looks like 2 fused seals. Something similar was seen in 2013. On Orca Island, in the sand dunes, someone found the lifeless body of a marine seal. They called the Animal Control Service, which carefully collected the remains to investigate the cause of death. The result was this: a pregnant female that died in childbirth. Yes, such things happen in animals. The skeletal remains of conjoined twins were found in the womb, so the process went wrong. The incident shocked experts, since it's extremely rare for marine animals to have twins, let alone congenital pathologies. The skeleton of this rare conjoined seal is now displayed at the Burke Museum in the United States. A man on his way to ocean fishing saw a company of giant crabs on the pier. They seemed to be waiting for someone on the stairs. The witness was skeptical about such an installation, deciding that this gathering of giant crabs was someone's artistic joke. But we have no proof, and who would come up with such a prank? One guess is troubling. The crabs were all completely still. Maybe they were just not alive and assembled for an exhibition for some filming? A fisherman in Houston got a problem instead of a catch. When he pulled in the line, he found a snake wrapped around the fish. The snake had no intention of letting go, and the situation seemed at an impasse. The fisherman relinquished his share, and after trying to separate the animals, he released them back into the stream. You probably wouldn't eat fish after a snake either, would you? The fisherman thought he had caught a stingray. The pull was so strong. But it was much worse. It turned out he had snagged an alligator. The hook was stuck, and the reptile continued thrashing about. What to do in such a case? Probably just cut the line and be glad it wasn't a net, or the release would have been much more difficult. Have you ever wondered if there are creatures in the world that we can't even imagine? This is what was caught in Japan, and they call it an alien fish or the devil's favorite fish. Yes, those creepy teeth are enough to scare anyone, but not the Japanese. As you know, they eat all the gifts of the sea, and this creature is no exception, even a well-known culinary delicacy. Moreover, they practically eat it alive. Be honest, would you dare to taste the nightmarish fish? Even if you read hundreds of rave reviews, don't be shy. Let us know. An unknown animal was encountered in the water by residents of Polis Island in South Carolina. This video was shared by a reporter from the Marine Resources Research Institute. Some huge sea slug, dark brown in color, equipped with wing-like fins, was fluttering in the water. Its size reached about 12 inches. If you know what kind of species this is, write to us in the comments. Even if this is a very local event, there were still no answers from either the amateur fishermen who were frightened by this flash or the commentators on the network. Let us take a look at what alarmed them. It looks like sudden seismic activity caused a surge of some kind of brown pigment. Was it a school of fish or a mass of silt and algae? We do not know, but clearly there was some major upheaval underwater. If you can explain this by a gas release or a whirlpool, or perhaps the presence of some kind of monster, feel free to comment below. That is what the comments are for. A mysterious snake-like creature puzzled employees of a city park in New Orleans. In the pond splashed a strange fish-like creature, but its shape was more snake-like, and its strange behavior defied classification. This raised the question of genetic mutation. An experienced fisherman reported that perhaps the creature was caught swimming upside down. This is how fish usually behave before they die. The sanitary conditions in the lagoons have likely failed if unidentified animals have started to appear there. Personally, I have never seen anything like this on land or at sea. A calm river can become furious in seconds. It feels like its separate sections instantly boiled or some powerful whirlpool started operating there. In the middle of an unknown river in Mexico, a strange disturbance occurred. Water was constantly pushed out from the center, as if some station was operating there. An eyewitness suggests that some underwater equipment might have been located at the bottom, pumping water. Or we can just blame it on another unknown monster. Canadian lakes are known not only for their beauty, but also for Indian legends. Okanagan Lake is no exception. According to legend, it is inhabited by a monstrous monster named Ogopogo, or Naitaka. It is said that on the shore of the lake, an evil person killed a respected elder, and as punishment for his deed, he was turned into a lake demon. The Indians never fished in those places, and if they had to sail past Rattlesnake Island, they would bring some small livestock to appease the monster with a sacrifice. They say the demon entertains itself by sinking canoes with tail strikes. The myth was considered just ancient folklore until footage of a mysterious creature in the lake spread across the internet in January 2019. If you think it is a giant oarfish, there is one but. This fish lives in the ocean and cannot live in fresh water. Usually, river dragons are an Asian specialty. but the video likely does not show a fish or a whale, more likely a snake-like creature. Although, as long as no one has been eaten in this lake, it is not known for sure if there is a dragon or not. The Indians were right to be cautious. If a crowd gathers somewhere, it is one of the signs that something exciting is happening there. In March 2014, in a remote area of Thailand, nearly the entire village gathered by the river near a temple. People were tense because of a massive bulge on the river's surface. Since myths about river dragons or giant snakes are so popular in Asia, it seems the residents wanted to be sure they exist, although usually any person fears becoming a witness. Strange body parts provided no clarifying details, and soon the monster disappeared under the water without telling anything about itself. When something falls from above, it is undoubtedly suspected of being of extraterrestrial origin, especially if it lands quite noisily. For the residents of an Indian village, this large, heavy ball that landed on the fields with a loud explosion was alarming news. Within minutes, a large crowd of curious people gathered, trying to figure out what this cosmic egg was, a tiny asteroid or an alien organism. Now it is time for real monsters. The anaconda is a giant predatory snake that can swallow prey much larger than itself. However, sometimes they fall into the trap of their own greed. A fisherman from Puerto Rico found in the water this huge yellow anaconda, which seemed to be already unconscious. It had already swallowed quite a large prey. What do you think? With the help of local guys, they pulled the huge, slippery snake ashore and even took it further into the jungle to release it into the wild. Such care, just touching. I wonder if the snake will remember this kindness in the future? A cruise boat with tourists traveling around Port Blair Island off the coast of India was passing by a boulder. And then people were horrified to notice that it was not a boulder, but a huge sea crocodile that looked like Godzilla. That is why the island is usually closed to tourists, because, according to the guide, this area is known for its giant crocodiles. Looking at this monster, you can guess what real dinosaurs looked like. In July 2015, reports appeared of a massive silhouette under the water of Lake Van in Turkey. A local monster hunter took up the investigation and made a recording showing a part of some huge creature cautiously peeking out of the water and moving. Judging by everything, the creature is enormous and behaves very stealthily. A professor from a local university suggested that this creature might be a giant deep-sea reptile that periodically surfaces. The question is, why? Ancient myths, for example, claim that huge reptiles live in Lake Van and drag people into the water. Since the extinction of dinosaurs left no doubt, there have been several videos proving otherwise. This footage was shot on Lake Ranco in Chile and published in February 2023. We see how an unknown huge reptile moves on the surface. There are no crocodiles or alligators in this area, so who is it then? An eyewitness described it as similar to a dinosaur. And what do you think? Everyone has heard the name raptor. It is a device that protects us from bloodsuckers. But the word itself means an entire group of prehistoric animals from the dinosaur era. One representative of the Velociraptor family, a bipedal predator from the Jurassic period, was recently spotted in a river, hidden under a rocky slope. Mountain plateaus, where there are no cities or roads, can well remain a haven for not quite extinct species of animals or their mutations. So I am not inclined to argue that this is a real velociraptor. It is also likely that it is patiently waiting for an opportunity to hunt those who carelessly jump into the water. The authors of the video decided not to approach it and did not disclose the location. So far, all these backs and tails on the surface of the water have only made us guess what is hiding in the depths. You ask, did these creatures never stick their heads out? Or did the witnesses lose patience and did not wait for the moment? Now we will see everything with our own eyes. The footage, taken on August 23, 2022 in Vietnam, proves to us that real dragons exist. A person in a canoe who immediately noticed this dragon hid in his boat and turned on the camera. Why did he not row away as fast as he could, you ask? You see, the legend says that the Vietnamese people are descendants of the dragon, so they attribute to it a benevolent power, and meeting it promises wealth and prosperity. And now, attention, a real monster that may turn out to be scarier than a dragon, and it is definitely not so benevolent. Watching wildlife requires you to sharpen all your reactions. Otherwise, you will not notice how a ferocious beast can pounce on you out of nowhere. In a nature reserve on Kamchatka, a group of Russian tourists experienced this firsthand when an aggressive bear suddenly appeared near their boat, moving along the edge of the shore. It intensely pursued them, determined to attack, and its running speed relentlessly brought it closer to the boat. Although they managed to outrun the bear, such a meeting shocked everyone, reminding them who is the boss in this home. A stranded marine animal always looks bewildered. This is what a drone noticed flying over a river in Singapore. An unknown sea creature ended up in a canal where the water level was quite low and the water itself was quite dirty, and it was desperately looking for a way out. It had fins, a tail, and a large mouth with whiskers. Most likely, some viewers would take it for a large catfish, but someone suggested that due to the nuclear disaster at the Fukushima power plant, many sea animals underwent terrible mutations, including some species of sharks. So this could very well be a deformed shark. When large marine animals like dolphins and killer whales are stranded on the shore, they can easily be distinguished from each other. But sometimes the ocean presents us with unsolvable mysteries. In May 2017, on a busy beach in Indonesia, a giant carcass of a decaying monster was found. The process had reached such a stage that it was impossible to identify the animal. Besides the unpleasant smell and protruding bones, nothing helped marine biologists with the task. They took blood and bone structure samples, and the body had to be disposed of, buried and waiting for complete decomposition to be able to study at least the skeleton. Salmon, in our common opinion, is such a cute, tasty fish that seems to be created to jump straight into the mouths of bears and into jars of red caviar. However, these zombie salmon can scare you quite a bit. This underwater video was taken in November 2017 in the Gulf Stream. Here, a large group of salmon is suffering, their bodies covered with fungus. Essentially, they turn into zombies even during their risky journey to spawning, overcoming rivers. They fight against the currents and use their bodies and tails to dig into the ground. Bruises and exhaustion lead to infections. Their bodies begin to decompose while still alive until they finally lose consciousness. In August 2015 in Ohio, a fisherman caught an amazing catch. This fish looked like a prehistoric creature. Although caught might not be quite correct, the fish still slipped off the hook and escaped. However, the same creature was discovered a few days later. It got stuck in a mesh fence near the shoreline. A marine biologist confirmed that it was a long-nose gar, or long-nose armored gar. These amazing creatures are often called living fossils, as they belong to one of the oldest species of fish and have hardly changed in 100 million years. They inhabit the waters of North America and can reach nearly 6.5 feet in length and a weight of more than 45 pounds. Why was it trying to jump over the fence is another question. A fisherman in New Orleans made headlines after catching a nearly 6.5 feet long bull shark from a lake. It is unexpected when marine predators penetrate fresh water. This is doubly dangerous as their unpredictability and aggressiveness are at their peak. Bull sharks, tiger sharks, and great white sharks are most likely to attack people. The presence of these formidable predators in the lake calls for caution for those going for a carefree fishing trip. Feeding wild animals is an unpredictable entertainment that can become a bad idea in 1 second. A young Japanese woman decided to feed a turtle in the river near the bridge, and everything was very cute until another inhabitant of the murky waters decided to join the free lunch. An aggressive water monitor disrupted the peaceful setting and pounced on the food. Of course, it ruined everything, and the girl quickly stepped away from the rude guest. Anything that resembles worms, caterpillars, and snakes already causes trepidation in some people. But what do you say about a giant centipede, which was filmed by a witness from Thailand? And if this specimen looks not quite capable, then here is another example, from the Bang Pakong River. There it swam just on the surface of the water. Subsequently, a local marine biologist reported that this freshwater creature could be a bristleworm, which appears during the rainy season. In principle, it makes sense. All sorts of creepy things crawl out in dampness, but I would not want to meet such a worm in a hotel room. Initially, people took it for a bizarre piece of driftwood, but then, with the help of shots and knives, they confirmed that it was still an animal carcass up to 8 feet long. It only remained to figure out which one. Bigfoot, perhaps? This is a very old recording. It was made in 1959. An unknown hairy carcass was found near Plum Island Beach in the United States. The hairy body indeed resembled a werewolf, some humanoid animal whose head looked like a dog's, and the body resembled a human's. Since then, no one has added information about the frightening find. What do you think? Is it a mutant or a mythical creature? Residents of Panama City were intrigued by the body of a creature found among the rocks in a riverbed. By appearance, it seemed to be a sloth, but it had very long limbs and absolutely no fur. The find was nicknamed the sloth alien, but judging by its face and claws, it mutated severely before its death. Here is another find, but this time completely incredible. In October 2012, a cleaner on the beach in northern Australia stumbled upon a strange creature. Firstly, he could not be sure if it was dead. It seemed the body was still showing signs of life, raising its head. But overall, it can be described no other way. It seemed to belong to an alien baby. Most likely, these were the last moments of its life. But how long it lay there, where it came from, and why such a thing is possible, all these questions are stuck in my head. By the way, the area of the find was quickly cordoned off. The body was apparently taken away, and that was the end of the story. Have you heard of similar cases? There are many myths and rumors about spirits, that ghosts or the souls of the dead can sometimes be seen as a transparent body or silhouette. What do you say about the footage taken in the Philippines? This is a very strange place. Nowhere in the world, perhaps, are there so many superstitions and such a rich variety of mystical creatures. A fisherman was packing his gear after a whole day of work on the river when he noticed white outlines. The figure seemed to appear from under the water and formed into a human silhouette in a matter of seconds. Another similar figure appeared next, making it clear that this was not a trick of the eye. The same thing cannot be imagined twice. Experts in esotericism called the silhouettes elemental beings, simply put, spirits of nature's elements, earth, air, fire, and water. Their images vary in different cultures, from gnomes to salamanders. But guardians or incarnations of natural elements are said to actually exist and symbolize the interconnectedness between people and the environment. So if you do not take care of water, they might pay you a visit. Prehistoric species are completely extinct, but they have not disappeared from the face of the planet. Their fossils or imprints are occasionally found in various corners of the world. In January 2022, artifact seekers were exploring a river in the southeastern United States, and a megalodon tooth fell right into their hands. It was perfectly preserved, its age is measured at about 6 million years, and considering the quality of the find, it could be valued at tens of thousands of dollars. It was worth swimming in the murky water. You ask, why is it brown? The color is determined by the types of rocks that surrounded the tooth during its mineralization and accordingly penetrated its structure. The most common colors are black, gray, and brown. But rarities of coffee with milk color or blue with white veins are also found. Besides mysterious creatures and their remains, a mass of ancient historical artifacts is hidden underwater. Simply put, treasures for archaeologists. In a Siberian lake, a fully preserved medieval sword from the 12th century was found. Of course, it was covered with rust, but if it is restored, it can be used. The metal has retained its integrity. The question is, how did it get into the water and spend 900 years in it? Perhaps its owner was fighting someone on the ice and was defeated. A resident of a village in Vietnam stumbled upon a remarkable sight. He encountered a snake with 4 limbs. What he initially took for a large lizard turned out to be a snake with legs. The rumor spread through the village like a virus. Many interpreted this as a message from above since such a thing had never been seen here before. In principle, it is known that there are species of snakes with fully developed legs, while some species have rudimentary hind limbs, remnants from lizards. But this specimen challenged everything. However, agree, when a snake has legs, it is already a bit less scary. In May 2012, this mysterious video appeared on the internet. In it, we see a strange reptile with a leopard pattern, which we cannot classify into any known species. It is even unclear where its back and front are. It simultaneously resembles both a snake and a lizard. The body mainly resembles a snake, but it has 2 legs. The longer we look at this creature, the more questions arise. This specimen challenges accepted notions of reptiles. Obviously, there are still some intermediate variants left as a result of evolution. That is all for today, friends. These were the most incredible creatures you...
That concludes our episode. If you enjoyed it and want to see the next part or something similar, write about it in the comments, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to Top Facts for the most incredible collections of facts and videos from across the internet. Thank you for watching, and check out the 2 previous top episodes.